Hello and welcome to my Sekiro Shura charmless sword only run. And for Elden Ring, I put an emphasis on boss fights and not scripting as much. And I wanted to do that again here, but perhaps to an even further extent by not scripting any of the bosses. And sword only seemed like a good restriction set for that. So anyway, we just get through the tutorial area. I do like really safe baby easy strats because I don't want to get hit here and reset annoyingly. So I just do like a really slow, really safe thing that's super easy to do. And then we get up here to Kuro's little tower and talk to him. He'll give us the healing gourd, and I'll also give him back his charm because this is a charmless run. Basically just makes you do less damage and stuff like that. And another thing with the charmless is that if you block instead of deflect, it does chip damage, so you'll take a little bit of health damage. And I like that as well because it makes it like really extremely clear if you blocked something instead of deflected it. I know it's very clear anyway, even if you don't use the charm, whether you blocked or not. But I just wanted that extra assurance, and then also having the boss fights be a little bit longer is kind of nice, just to see more of their moveset and things like that, show off your skills a little bit more. Because at this point I look at other people's like runs with the charm and they just deal so much damage and fights are so quick, it's not as satisfying to me. So get past the cutscene and then we'll face our first boss here, just the tutorial Genichiro. And this fight used to be a lot slower because my strats were like very, very conservative, basically just deflecting almost anything he did. Eventually I did pick up dodging his jump attacks and then just going for basic attacks after that. But still, even with including stuff like that, I do a lot more deflecting than other people do, and other people are much more aggressive. But when I was starting out, being so aggressive, I ended up making like a lot of mistakes, and then I would see moves that I was not familiar with, so I decided I would just learn all the moves I was unfamiliar with so that nothing could surprise me. And it ended up being pretty consistent. I went through like a few different iterations of strats with this boss, but I think I ended up with something very, very consistent for me. While also doing some cool stuff. I got really turned around here because usually when I lock off and then when I try locking back on, it just locks onto the boss, but I guess he was out of view for that one, so got turned around at the end, but that's okay. And after that, we're gonna go through Ashina outskirts to, what does it get to the Ogre? Will be our next boss. And then yeah, I have tutorials on because I don't have any mods installed whatsoever. I use the, what's it called? The stutter fix, where you just run an executable that like adds a flag to the game that reduces stuttering. And I don't know if that affects it so much, but it might do something, so I did it anyway. And we'll just make our way through here. What is it? My philosophy with these like running and platforming sections, I wanted stuff that was very, very easy to do, that basically there was like no way I could mess up. Because it feels like really bad to me to mess up like a platforming section and then have to reset because you fell or something like that. But anyway, yeah, I try to do stuff that's like relatively fast. Like whatever I'm doing, I try to do it as fast as possible, but what I am doing, I also want it to be very easy and safe to do in terms of platforming and running sections. For boss fights, I try to do as many punishes as I can fit in and make consistent, which I think I've accomplished in this run. So anyway, to start with the Ogre, you just get his attention, then run away so he de-aggroes, and then you can run back in for a stealth death blow on him just so you're not fighting him as long and just speed things up overall. And then you can do 3 attacks and then get rid of the prompt. And then, yeah, what I ended up doing with this boss was just doing like a little bit of circle strafing, or like, I don't know what to call it, where you're kind of just like circling him while attacking to get more attacks in. For a while I was like very unconfident with it, and I would not do any circle strafing at all. But that made it a bit slower, and I eventually learned to be a little more confident. And then for those slams, if I feel confident, I'll deflect it, because it does more posture damage than just dodging and attacking. But anyway, it's a pretty quick boss fight, and then we just move on. And what is it? To make the game harder, some other people get this thing called the Demon Bell, which is like a, I don't know, 1 or 2 minute detour at this point. But I didn't really care to make the game much harder than it is now, and it would be really annoying for me for my first run to have to go do that every single time. So I just opted not to. And anyway, for this snake ravine section, I do, again, really just easy stuff. There's like no way you could screw it up. Just so I feel extra safe and I don't have to worry about resetting to sort of in-between boss sections. And here, we just wait a while for the snake to turn his head, get in the palanquin, and then wait for the death blow to appear on his eye. And we just run away, grapple onto this branch, grapple up here, and get out of there. Just very, very easy stuff. I know there's like faster ways to get through there and, you know, somewhat fancy things you can do, but I didn't want to. With this run, I really wanted to learn the bosses like super well and didn't care so much for fancy platforming. So I just did easy stuff. And then here, we just run past that rifleman, and then we get into Gyoubu. Now, starting off, and even for like some parts in the middle of this whole process, I would reset to Gyoubu a bunch, because he's kind of hard in a way. And also, he's like 10 minutes in, and it's sort of like a big fight for me. Anyway, and there's also like a lot of weird crap that can happen, but eventually I gained a lot of confidence, and Gyoubu eventually became pretty consistent. Did not get those deflects. Anyway, yeah, I think I've learned him pretty well. I don't do like hyper aggression, like every single punish possible with him, but I feel like I do a fair bit. Enough to feel good about. Like I'm not, you know, fearful or running away from him all the time. Yeah. And we got the end of that charge, which is nice. Stop him in his tracks. And just deflect his attacks and, you know, do all these patterns and things that I've learned. I feel like I've gotten very confident on Gyoubu. Starting out, it was so bad. I have like notes on every single time I got hit during attempts, and I probably reset to Gyoubu I don't know, maybe even like a third to a half of resets were just to Gyoubu. Maybe. But in any case, a great deal of them, but he's pretty consistent these days. And our next step was to just enhance our attack power there with the memory that Gyoubu gave us. And then also here what I'll do is I'll do a little thing to make a timestamp to make this easy to sync up. It'll be 10.5 minutes now. Okay. And then here we just go up here and kill this rat. So we can do a little mini quest here with the Tengu to get a skill book, because although this is sword only, I can upgrade my attack power and I can use skills. And I want to do skills just to have something to spend the points on, and then on top of that, some skills like Makiri counter and some other ones just feel like they're supposed to be part of the game. And I don't think it trivializes any encounter, so I went with skills anyway. Yeah, so we got the text from the Tengu to get some skills later, and then now we'll go back to the dilapidated temple to talk to the sculptor to get the shinobi esoteric text, so we can get shinobi skills. And we just fill around with this dialogue for a sec to get the text. And then what I'll immediately do here is get the Makiri counter skill, which allows you to very easily negate thrust attacks, which is pretty useful on some enemies and bosses. Not very many, but some of them it is very useful. So coming back here, we kill the rifleman again, and then grapple up here, and then we'll get around to the bull eventually. And along with Gyoubu, the bull also took a long time to learn and get somewhat confident at, because the fighting style for the bull is very different. You don't deflect it at all, and you play locked off and you just run around and hit it when you get the opportunity. There's some like strats and expertise that goes into it, but regardless, it is a very different boss and it is pretty hard to learn. It was at first anyway. And to make the bullfight a little more consistent, I just kill these trash mobs at the beginning, because otherwise I'll have to deal with them during the boss fight, which some people do, and they do it very well, but I just didn't want to fiddle around with all that. So the basic thing here is to just chase him around and then get some hits in. At least this is my style. There are other ways to do this. And then when he does these like sideways head bash things, you can get him in a loop. It's not really a loop because he can get out of it, but he may stay in the loop for a while. Of just him doing the sideways head bash and then you getting a headshot on him. So yeah, just chase him around and try to go for headshots. I'm kind of conservative with the headshots because, the headshots do a lot more damage, but it's also more dangerous. Because his head is where all the hitboxes come from. Well, most of them anyway. So anyway, yeah, just when it feels right, I go for some headshots. Otherwise, I'm generally pretty cautious. He's not being very kind with the sideways head bashes. Running around a lot too. But I don't mind it too much. I'll deal with whatever. I'm just not gonna, be too aggressive and end up getting hit. 'Cause some people can be like super aggressive the whole time, but just like with Genichiro, I think having a little bit of breathing space makes these more consistent for me. And eventually we do get into, what's it called? Do a little Stampede. And I know you can kick him when he rises up like that to make him fall down faster, but I'm not going to deal with trying to quickly get a death blow on him. I'll just spam R1 until he eventually dies. And after that we're going to head up to Ashina Castle to fight Genichiro again. And just grapple around these rooftops here. And then we'll do a little strat here to attract the attention of this Nightjar ninja over there on the other roof. He'll start walking that way, and then we sneak behind him. One of them notices us, but it doesn't matter. And then we got the Woo guy coming in from his kite. And then this guy, you just run straight at him, and he pretty much always whistles, and there's no issues there. Then grapple under the window, and there's like another shortcut you can do up there by the window. But again, just fiddly platforming I don't want to deal with. I just go through the castle. Kill the guy, open the doors, and then head on through here, up in the rafters. This is the very long but pretty simple, easy way to get to Genichiro. And yeah, if you just take the center line through there, I have never gotten hit by those Nightjar ninjas. When I used to hang left through that hallway, one of the ninjas quickly aggroed to me and actually got me one time, so I just take the center line now. But anyway, to start the Genichiro fight, we just dodge through his first arrow shot and then start attacking. And then there's the Mikiri counter skill we got. And again, just not crazy aggressive, just sit in front of him, attack when appropriate, and deflect his attacks. And then there's the first quad arrow thing. He'll backstep and then he'll pull out his bow to shoot at you 4 times. But if you run at him as he's backstepping and then jump in the air and then do a jumping slash at the right time, you can knock him out of the air before he shoots you, which I thought was a really cool strat. I got it from Ramon on the Discord. Or Ramon, I'm sorry, I don't know which way to pronounce it. But yeah, he gave me that strat a while back when I was starting to ask about these things. And anyway, yeah, just continue. And you might notice that after some attacks I don't like keep going, like I'll stop attacking him and wait for him to do something. And that's because, yeah, like right there, like I didn't just keep attacking him, I waited, because if he chooses to backstep and you keep attacking, then you won't, then sometimes you can get in just in time and knock him out of the air for the quad arrow attack after the backstep. But it's just a lot comfier if you just wait for him to do something to see if he's gonna backstep or not. So that slows down the fight a bit, but I mean it's okay. It is consistent at least. And then starting the third phase of Genichiro, mostly the same as first 2 phases, but a couple differences. For example, he doesn't have the quad arrows in this phase, so I usually attack him until he blocks. Like I won't just stop after a couple attacks like in the first 2 phases. Just walk around his lightning attack there, and then I think, yeah, here he keeps using his bow a bunch. Let's see if he does it again. I'm pretty sure yeah, he just keeps doing like the jump shot thing. He might even do it a 3rd time, but he was just really loving this attack. There it is, the 3rd time. I don't know what's up with him today in this attempt. He just really wanted to keep doing that. And anyway, yeah, just keep fighting him. Okay, and then there's his like that flurry attack. I demonstrated in the first couple phases how to deflect a few of those and then dash away and then deflect the last hit. But in that instance, he was kind of near a wall, and I wasn't really confident in pulling it off right there, so I just backed off. But anyway, the fight went pretty well regardless. Got Genichiro down. And then here we just walk in, and then we'll have to do some plot things for a while. Lots of dialogue. What else could I say? What is it? For this run, I had some help from the Discord, the hitless Discord, which was pretty nice compared to my Elden Ring run, where I didn't have, well, I guess I had access to these resources, but like I didn't really know to use it back then. Like I didn't anyway, I didn't join the Discord until after my Elden Ring run was done, so I didn't have as much help there, and having help for this run was very nice for a few strats. I'll try to call out some strats and where I got them as they happen. Oh, I guess one strat I already forgot about is for Genichiro's like left dash into his big flurry thing, the one that I ran away from in the third phase, but I did do the strat in the first or second phase. For that one I got from Devin, he told me about it, and then I tried it out, and it turned out to be pretty easy to do, or at least, you know, easy to practice and make consistent. So yeah, with Genichiro alone, I already got 2 strats from 2 different people. The quad arrows and the left dash flurry. Then here we pick up the Gunfort Shrine Key for later, and then my route's pretty different than other people's routes for Shura. Instead of going to Senpo Temple and killing the folding screen monkeys right away, since I don't care as much about having that attack power early, I can go straight for the harder bosses just to get them out of the way, because my issue is not really making the fights like, you know, a couple seconds shorter. It's mostly just having a good day and, you know, performing well against the bosses, because I can fight them for quite a few minutes hitless if I'm focused and feeling good. I don't need to make the fights just a little bit shorter. But another thing is, again, I don't like fiddly platforming and stuff like that. So instead of going through this other place where you can jump past a giant snake to get down to Ashina depths, I just fight the Lone Shadow down here, and he's pretty easy to fight. There are a few memes that can happen, like sometimes his kicks miss you, and then you have to hit him and then check if he blocked right away, or he usually just takes a vitality hit and won't block if the kick misses, like there. But there's a very small chance that he'll block right away even if the kick misses, so I have to hit him once and then pause and see if he blocked or not, and then, you know, proceed from there. But anyway, if you just keep him in the loop where you attack once and then parry once, you can only do like 3 different moves, and it's pretty easy to do. But anyway, he's over and done with, and we head down to Ashina Depths to fight Snake Eyes next. Get the grapple here. Never missed that grapple, luckily. Take a little fall damage, it doesn't matter. Fall damage is fine, it's not a hit. Oh, and another nice thing about getting to Snake Eyes this way instead of through jumping past the giant snake is that the grappling section just there is a lot easier, I think. Anyway, we get a stealth death blow on her to start, do a couple slashes, and then yeah, just fight her. Like just like the Lone Shadow, she can only do basically 3 different moves. Although she's a lot more consistent. There's basically no memes that can happen. Unlike with Lone Shadow, but anyway. Should be over soon. Just one more? Yeah, okay. So kill her real quick. And I do this section early because the next big boss I kill is the ape, and if you kill the ape and then walk through here after that, he'll like be in this big cave for round 2, and I don't want to deal with that. So I just come through here early and get a fast travel point for later. And then on top of that, I'll pick up a couple skills here, run and slide, and suppress presence. Suppress presence just makes it a little bit harder for enemies to see me. And then next up we'll go to Gunfort and the Centipede. Waiting for the loading screen to get done here. And we go out this window we opened earlier. And then we'll just head on down to Gunfort. Let's see, in terms of like total time worked on this, I think it took about 180 hours in-game to do, because I think casually through Sekiro I had like 60 or 80 hours in-game, maybe 70. And then after that I was just trying to get this hitless run done. But anyway, at least like 150 hours or so. Well, probably more like 180, but anyway. Just run past and do some platforming around here. Kill the gecko because we do the slow strat to get past here. You can just jump across this, but I've never tried it and it seems really spooky to me. And I know people make it really consistent, but I just, again, I never want to screw anything up in these in-between running sections, so I'd rather just do really, really easy stuff. And then we just come down here, grapple around, and try to move through this section as fast as we can. I've never been shot here. Sometimes it looks like they get a little close, but they've never actually got me. What has gotten me is that Snake Eyes mini-boss you might have seen as I was coming up to here. She shot me as I was shimmying across the huggable wall. So now I try to get there as fast as possible, and also do a fast shimmy through the huggable wall. I don't know if it would actually save me, but just moving through there quickly, I don't know, minimize the risk anyway. And then here we come up to this bit of cover on the bridge and wait for these riflemen to stop shooting at us. But according to Sillxex, these aren't actually riflemen, they're riflewomen, but anyway. I guess I could just call them gunners. And the strat is to run through the bridge until just a little bit before the hole in the bridge, jump down, and then do a late grapple onto this branch, and then wait here for them to de-aggro again. And what is it? Early on, I made a mistake here by double grappling, where I went onto the branch and then went up to this next branch immediately. And they can hit you there, but besides that, I've luckily not messed up Gunfort very badly. So that's been nice. And yeah, overall, like the running sections in this have been a lot more consistent than the ones in Elden Ring. Probably because for this For this run, since it's sword only and it's been done many times before, I mostly just copied what other people do. And for the most part, it's been very consistent, not very much thought and experimentation was needed by me, but in Elden Ring, there had to be so much because my route was so different than other people's. And anyway, just coming up through Gunfort, just sneak around a little bit and then run past these shotgunners. And then here we sit down at this idol and then run off, and then homeward idle back to that same that idol we just got to force a loading screen. Because what I noticed is if you don't have a loading screen right next to this next boss, basically you'll do less damage, posture damage with the deflects you do. But this seems to have fixed it by just forcing a loading screen. And anyway, you open with a slash and then deflect his big combo he does. And just take the head stomps and then deflect his big combo again. Do another head stomp and then don't take the death blow right away, wait to fall down just to have a little bit more breathing room when at the start of the second phase. And that's the quick 3 combo that you want to avoid. You can parry the last 2 or 1 hits, but you want to avoid it. And then for some of these I take the head stomp, but I jump backwards as I do it because you can follow up with the quick 3 combo, which is inconsistent to deflect all 3 hits. And apparently taking the head stomps it's not completely safe in second phase, but honestly I've never been hit because of that. So I'm just gonna keep doing it until something happens where he does the quick 3 combo at an inopportune time. But anyway, I'll keep doing that. The strat I use until proven otherwise. Anyway, we come down to the sunken valley here past the big snake. Do some little platforming here. And this is one thing I changed. Coming through here, I fight the next big boss, the ape, right away, because it's not a crazy hard fight. It's just it's fairly long and involved, and it's it's easy to make a mistake on. And it used to be like pretty much the second to last boss I fight, which it's not a great time. But anyway, we fight him like half an hour, 36 minutes in or something like that. And we just fight the first phase here, where he's just a big ape smacking us around. But what is it? Some people, when he staggers like this, they can get him into a stagger loop, basically. So as soon as they get the first stagger, they don't have to fight the rest of the phase. They just loop him like that. But that's not as fun or cool to me. So instead I opted to just not stagger loop him and just fight him straight up the whole time. And what is it? In practicing that, it's become very consistent at this point. Kind of messed up the stagger situation there. But anyway, yeah, I learned a bunch of cool little punishes you can do. And for this first phase, I pretty much learned all of these strats all on my own. It feels pretty cool. And I even made a little video explainer about the moveset and punishes for first phase to help out Devin, which apparently was very helpful, so that's good. Anyway, yeah, we just deflect when we need to, attack when we need to, strafe around or dash to make the fight go by. And there's the stagger. I just keep attacking him so he does the big runaway. And then if you run after him right when he runs away. You can get off some jumping slashes to get a little bit more damage in, which I do. There's the sweep grab. There's the getaway smack. And anyway, just wait for the fight to end, I guess. Okay, he didn't follow up there. He flings the poop at us, but as long as you stay close, it can't hit you, so everything's fine. Jumping slash is chasing after him. This is a big grab. Dodge through it. I think he's one hit away from death here. And we got through phase 1. But anyway, yeah, since I fight him straight up, I've gotten very good at it, and it's quite consistent now. As long as I'm focused and feeling good. And we just wait for his second phase, and I walk around, get in front of him, ready for the next phase. And he opens with the scream, of course. And just parry his combos, get in some extra punishes there. And what is it? Big thanks to Sillxex, because when I was watching him do the second phase, he was fitting in a bunch more in-between punishes that I was not doing before, but it makes this fight a fair bit faster. Like getting these extra slashes in between his combo hits. And you can hit him 6 times after the combo finishing slam. Some people say you can only do 5, but I've found that if you just input buffer all 6 hits and get them off as fast as possible, it's pretty comfy to get all those punishes in there and get away or parry his next attack, whatever happens. It's safe. And I'm pretty sure at least what I remember is this phase went very slowly because his RNG was pretty bad. Like he screamed after pretty much every combo finisher. Yeah, I feel like he screamed after every single combo finishing slam, which slows down the fight a bunch. But I was not going to give this fight up easily, so I didn't let him get away with anything, even if he freaking screams after every combo finisher. And there's a little stagger there. And another scream. Gosh. Then we have very slow phase 2, but I can deal with it. And get 6 slashes in. And another scream. Gosh. Oh, another thing I do is this little combo right here that's happening right now. I deflect that instead of running around and punishing on his legs, because that's what most people do. But I think it just looks cooler to stand there and deflect the little combo, because it's quite consistent at this point. Some people say the timing is different each time, but that's not been my experience. It's been very consistent. And yeah, he's just screaming after every combo. But yeah, this is one of the one of the kind of harder bosses in the run, so it was really nice to change my route and do him a lot earlier. Yeah, there it is, he's dead. I was pretty happy at this point, because I get past Ape, you know, it's more than halfway through the run, things are going really well. It's a nice feeling. And if I remember right, the next order of business is going to be going through the Hidden Forest and through Mibu Village to get to Monk. First we'll get some skills here. I don't think suppressed sound is needed at all. Neither is mid-air deflection, because I never deflect mid-air, but I just got it every run just in case something incredibly rare happens, but I've never had to use it. So anyway, here we'll head through the Hidden Forest. Just take our little path here. And there's another little skip you can do with some fancy, not really fancy, but just some, I don't know, I guess slightly unusual platforming. But instead of doing that, I just run through this little section here with Tokujiro the Glutton and his monkeys, because it's pretty easy to get through here, and doing the tree skip looks kind of fiddly and annoying. And this is pretty consistent as far as I know. And anyway, what's supposed to happen is as I come down here, and normally I'll get an aerial death blow on the Mist Noble to get rid of his first phase. But instead I missed it, so I have to hack at him for 2 phases now, which is very exciting. But anyway, it's over already, luckily. And then here we'll move on to Mibu Village and Monk. And for Monk, another thing that people do is on sword only runs specifically, mostly they'll just like loop her with thrust attacks. Like you do thrust attacks on her, she'll deflect them, and then she can only have like 1 or 2 responses to that, and she basically just goes into a loop. Which is not very cool or exciting to me, so I just fight her straight up without doing any looping. Takes a few minutes, and it takes a long time to learn. But this as well eventually became quite consistent. Another thing is, I used to have really bad problems with variable input lag on this game, which is really horrible because you want really consistent input lag, so the parries and the deflects can be really consistent. But I sorted that issue out, so now it can be quite consistent. The game feels really good to play. Anyway, we did 4 slashes at the opening, and then she does her opening attack, which is the quintuple circular slashes. And then yeah, just basically fight her, and then when she gives us openings to deal vitality damage, you deal vitality damage, because otherwise her posture recovers extremely quickly, so you have to whittle down her vitality so it doesn't recharge as fast. I'm backed into a corner, which feels kind of spooky, but we made it. And then here I jump backwards because she's right next to a wall, and I kind of want to get her away from all this. And then we get a insta thrust there, which is a free thrust on my part, which feels nice. Here's the quintuple circular slashes again. There's her getaway slash. The getaway slash used to get me a lot, because it's relatively fast, and the timing is different if you're point blank versus if you're a slight distance away. But at this point, the timing is quite, or getting the deflect on is pretty consistent now. So I'm glad I worked that out, because it used to give me a lot of headache. Yeah, cause so you see with that getaway slash, she hit me at like the very end of it, which is different. If I was point blank with her, I would have gotten hit immediately instead of at the end. That's her, like, I don't know, walk up hit, you could call it, or something. Have to react quickly to that one. Let's see, I'm pretty sure for Monk as well, I didn't take any strats from anyone else. Since people usually just loop her, I had to figure everything out. I think Shilkey has a kill of Monk without looping her, but I might have watched it. I can't remember if I took any strats from it though, because everything I'm doing I remember like figuring out on my own, so I think I just had to figure this one out. But this fight was pretty consistent in the end. I like her most of her attacks because they're very reactable, and you can see her doing like a flowing motion with all of her pretty much all of her slashes through the whole fight, which is not the same as with some other bosses where they'll have like a delay and then their swing will happen extremely quickly in like an unreactable amount of time, so you have to just learn the delay. But with her, you can like see it coming because she does it in a flowing motion, which is nice to read, rather than just knowing the delays. But anyway, she's dead. We upgrade our attack power and then get the Shelter Stone to get further in the story. And then I'm pretty sure from here on out we don't get any more skills, so these skill levels we get, skill points, are not going to be used on anything. And then what happens after Monk? Is it just... I think I go immediately to the Senpo Temple, because that's the last thing before the final boss is. Anyway, this section here is what most people would do right after fighting Genichiro the second time. But it's a really easy section, so I do it last just to get the hard stuff out of the way first, and then do this last to, anyway, it's self-explanatory, just, you know, do the hard stuff first so that once that's over, then getting really far is more assured. And here we just run through the dungeon. Go through the water, get rid of the prompt. And come up here and kill this rifleman. I know the strats just run past here, but I'd rather just kill the rifleman. And then here, since we do this late, there's Apparition. He's pretty simple to fight. Just hit him, make him block, and then back off and deflect as you're backing off. Anyway, and he's already dead. I could run through here earlier and get an idol to fast travel to and not have to do this later, but I think it's just hilarious to come through here and fight another trash mob, which like no one would ever do in a run. But anyway, just a little whimsy on my part. And running through here. Past the Divine Child of Rejuvenation calling us out. Jump over this rock. Pretty sure I've never gotten hit on this little section here, which is nice. A little sideways jump to get through here faster. It is the evening time, so an unusual time of day to be here, but it looks pretty nice, I guess. And then coming up here is Shugendo. There is a fast strat to run through here really quickly, but I got hit here once and lost the run to it, which sucked because this is like the last running section almost. So now I just do this slow, safer strat. Because apparently maybe the safe strat can be 100% consistent if you do the exact right thing every time. But since apparently it's very easy to screw up, I'd rather just do the safe, easy thing, like with the other running sections. But anyway, we've cleared out the rats, and we'll head up to Armored Warrior. Which I think, yeah, I lost a run to him because I was kind of nervous and a little bit out of practice. But learning his attacks, it's not crazy hard. But yeah, you'll see with him, with his sideways slashes, they'll be really delayed and then they'll come out basically instantly. So for those, you just have to learn the timings, which I think is rather annoying, but it is doable, so I have done it. And then for that big overhead slam, the delay is quite big, so I just sidestep it. And here we actually get the Mikiri counter on his thrust. His thrust has like a pretty tight timing to actually get the Mikiri counter off, so it's always nice to actually get that. And anyway, we knock him off the bridge, and he is no more. Wait for the fog wall to disappear. And then we'll head off to the folding screen monkeys, which is basically free. It's essentially just a puzzle boss, which is why most people do it early to get some extra attack power and also get the Mortal Blade early, but this is a sword only run, so we don't use the Mortal Blade anyway. Which is a happy coincidence, because then I can fight all the other bosses without having the Mortal Blade on my back, which I think is a little bit cooler. What is it? A lot of this run was just about being cool, in my opinion. And luckily, you can make cool strats consistent as well, so it's not just all for show. Anyway, we're going to come to the folding screen monkeys, do the fight here. First there's an invisible one, you just kill it behind you, first order business. And then for this one, he jumps away, but if you just hide here and wait for him to de-aggro, he'll eventually jump back up and you can stealth death blow him. Pretty easy to do. There it is. And then here you can, this monkey, he jumps away up to that other platform, but you can, if you grapple at the right time, you can hit him mid-air with your body and it stops him in the air, which always feels really cool to do. I learned that from watching Shilkey's sword only run. Probably a bunch of the running section basic movement I got from watching Shilkey's sword only run, and then some like little speed run strats just to make some movement a little bit faster. I got from, I think it was GraysonFlow's hitless speed run, so that was also a nice little thing to watch. And then the first route I was doing for this I got from dinossindgeil, because I watched him a bunch and saw his Shura runs. And here we get the Mortal Blade after the folding screen monkeys are done with. And then the last thing to do is to get to the top of Ashina Castle again and fight the final bosses. So we just upgrade our attack power for the last time and head on to Ashina Castle. And at this point I was pretty I wasn't really nervous. What is it? My heart was pounding at points, and maybe my hands were falling asleep a tiny bit, but I was mostly pretty confident because this last running section is pretty easy, and then Emma Isshin is, it was like very consistent as long as I focused and stuff. I mean, I had never been here, like this is my first time being this far without being hit. So I wasn't sure if maybe the nerves would get to me, but luckily they didn't really. And I was able to stick it out and get the run right away. Anyway, just grapple through all that, get up here. And there is a fast way to just grapple straight up there, but I opted not to because people throw throwing daggers at you. And what is it? That was the fastest those dogs have like ever aggroed to me, so I didn't really know what was going on there, but luckily I didn't get hit. Didn't have to do all this over again. I might have gotten it pretty quickly again, because all the bosses were getting really consistent. I was getting quite good at all of this. I've had at least 4 or 5 one-hit runs doing this, and then a fair few runs getting quite far. And then yeah, we run through there. You can jump through that safe area where it makes you put your sword away. If you jump through there, you don't have to walk slow as long. And then do a cool little backflip through the overhanging ceiling there, or roof thing. And then you can get up here and then get rid of some final dialogue and start the fight with Emma first off. And here I was just sort of mentally preparing myself, probably breathing a bit, and then I skipped the cutscene. And here I always let her do the first move, and basically I mostly just parry, deflect all of her attacks, and then after a Makiri counter like that, I'll do a thrust attack, and then when I see her idling, I'll hit her once to initiate a response from her. She idled a lot in this fight. And here there's her flurry combo, which I think is really cool to deflect all of it. And there's her grab, I respond with the thrust attack. Here's another Makiri counter, another thrust attack. And there she's idling again. She's idled more in this fight than I think any other fight I've had with her. It was really a little unnerving, but also I'm pretty familiar with how to deal with her idling, so I wasn't like freaking out or anything. It was just kind of annoying. But anyway, I'm quite good at the fight, so I think my heart was pounding, if I remember right. And again, my hands might have been a little bit asleep, but I felt pretty confident about all this going right. There's her flurry again. And then here I see that her posture is about to break, so I hit her twice instead of doing the normal thrust attack, just to finish her off there. And then we wait for Isshin to come out, and Isshin as well, it was quite consistent and pretty, not easy, but just, you know, I'm very good at it, so getting hit was not a big possibility. And then for him as well, I just, after Makiri and certain other attacks, I'll just do a thrust to get his vitality low, but otherwise I'll just deflect all of his attacks. And then here I take the head stomps, which a bunch of other people don't do because there's a chance he can do some weird things, slightly unusual things if you take the head stomp, but I've just learned to deal with it, and it's consistent as far as I can tell, so. And the head stomps do a lot of posture damage, so I think it's been very good. But anyway, yeah, just come through and just fight him how I always fight him, and things go well. Okay, now he's at like half health, and if I remember right, yeah, to finish him off, I stop doing thrust attacks and do two R1s as punishes. Yeah, or just one will be enough to finish him off there. And then here, this is one mind attack. If you learn the timing for this, it is honestly very consistent. Like, you know, my heart might have been pounding a bit, but I was totally confident deflecting it. And then all this, just... yeah, it felt pretty nice, honestly, just fighting him how I always fight him. It's very consistent. Here he's by a wall, so I wait a sec and hit him. Here, 2 is safe. And again here, 2 is safe. Bury that, walk around. 2 hits is safe. What is it? And to punish his grab attack, I always do a thrust, because if you just do an R1, then he can respond with a really quick counter attack, which I don't like to deal with. Anyway, here's another one mind. Again, very confident about deflecting those. There's this fire, I don't know what to call it, fire alley, I guess. And then here you can get him in a loop, kinda. He can get out of this whenever he wants, but if you just hit once, deflect once, hit once, he can go on for a while, and luckily he gave me the dub on this one. And that's the run. It feels, after it's all over, it felt like kinda easy, not like easy, but I don't know. I felt really confident about all the fights, and they'd all been quite consistent after all this practice, so it just felt really good to finally get them all in a row, hitless, and just have another run on my belt after the Elden Ring run. And this was really, really nice, because what is it? I get to fight the bosses really well, and you know, show off all these things, which I also did in Elden Ring, but you know, it was a 3-hour run and took like more than 2 months. So this was really nice to have as a shorter endeavor. And I think I did a really good job. Pretty proud of this one. I think what I'll do next is try Elden Ring All Remembrances without doing a crazy amount of setup or like trying to script everything with like crazy omni damage and buffs and things, just to show people that you can make all these bosses consistent in Elden Ring without being crazy overpowered and scripting everything. But anyway, here I'm just checking the in-game time, because I don't know, that's kind of what you do after a no-hit run. At least that's what I do, and it was a 58:41, which is pretty good, and the real-time run was about hour 3 minutes, which was pretty good. But anyway, here's where I'll say goodbye.